I'm very excited to say that we have a whole bunch of filmmakers involved in DEATHCEMBER with us for this special Q&A session. And we're going to kick off to start with the key producers on the film. So guys, would you tell us a little bit about, tell us your names and tell us your exact roles on the movie.
Hi, I'm Dominic Sachsel. I'm basically the guy who had the weird idea to do this film. And after a couple of weeks thinking about it, pondering it, I was talking to my old friend Ivo, who's been in the producing and licensing business for 20 years. And I asked him if he thought that would be a good idea to produce that film, to create it. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. Off to Ivo.
Sorry, Ivo, you tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Ivo, and basically Dominic has already said everything about me that's important. No, I'm doing really like acquiring movies for 20 years. I was involved in the production of 2 other films, but not as a main producer. And so that was my first chance to really become the main producer together with Dominic and Frank on this project.
So yeah, actually we are 3 producers. The third one is Frank, who can't be with us tonight. And we've got 3 different areas of expertise, so to say. Ivo is for the licensing and financial stuff. Frank does all the technical stuff. He owns a post-production company, and I'm the one who does, in the daily business, the communications, so to say. I handle all the social accounts of our film, and yeah, I'm the creative part of that.
I would imagine that an undertaking like this is so complex. I also work in movies as well as running Grimfest, so I get involved in directing and producing films. So I can only imagine how complex it must be trying to organize something like this with so many crews, so many directors, creators, writers all around the globe that had to come together to make this thing work. Maybe tell us a little bit about how you started that process and how you managed to kind of manage that process.
Well, in some way, we're really asking ourselves at some points, what did we start there? Because it was so incredibly, workloading, and with all the different time zones. We have one director in Korea, for example, and one in Canada. And in between that, it's everything, like 24 hours of being available for people who have questions in the beginning of the production phase. But it's also been a ton of fun. I had the idea. I talked to Ivo, and we got Frank on board, and we started, started doing budget and talking about how much money would we need. And very soon, early on in the process, we got to the point that we said, that's too much. We can't do this ourselves. We need funding. And so we decided we're going to apply for funding by the Hessen Film, which is the funding board of where we live. And we knew it would be pretty tricky because in Germany, horror films are still being looked upon as, that's weird. It's close to doing a porno, so to say. So normally films in the horror genre are not funded at all, but they had a change in the leadership or whatever in that funding board of Hessen. And they said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Still, no, we won't give you any money when we applied for the first time in 2017. And that was not because they didn't like the concept. They said it's a great concept. But they said, we need more details, because when we first applied, we had a lot of interested directors on board, but they all just had written treatments. And they said, that sounds great, but we need scripts, fully developed scripts. Ivo?
Yeah, and then the organization, the first organization wasn't actually that tricky, because the deal was really that we said every director that we made a contract with had to finish the short on his own. You know, we just said, okay, you're given the money, and whatever you can decide whatever you do with it, and you just have to deliver the short to us. And so the production process itself went actually pretty smoothly, and in most cases, I can say we were actually quick. We started in November, and about 90% of the movie was finished by spring, by March. We had I think a first cut ready somewhere around April, which for a 2.5-hour film, that was obviously the rough cut, but is, in my opinion, already amazing, because everybody kept the timeline that we were telling them to be finished latest by March. So that was okay. Nightmares are obviously the paperwork behind everything. So let's not go there. I'm
Well,
already having.
I mean, I'm aware of the amount of paperwork on a feature film, which just has one, you know, story within it and one crew. But with that many little mini movies all together, that must have been hell. So, did you do most of the post production? Did you pull, once the films were shot? Did they come back to you guys for the post, or was the post done in their individual countries?
Yeah, that was part of the deal. When we started the production, as I said, we were denied funding in the first round, but they eventually said in the second round, when we gathered some actual finished scripts, yeah, we're going to do that. And then we had a green light. That was, I think, in October 2018. And Ivo and I went to Sieges to actually fill the last slots in our directors. We were still missing 2 or 3, and we found these people in Sieges, and we saw their films. We were blown away, and we asked them if they want to be on board, and they were like, yeah, great. And actually, the first 2 films were shot in November already by the 2 Spanish crews. And in the contract, it was, you have a certain fixed budget, you have a time frame in which you need to deliver it. And of course, we had talked about the stories beforehand, and sometimes they showed us some rough cuts or footage and said, are we okay with that? But apart from that, they were all set to do that all on their own. So they were to deliver us a finished movie.
And did you set a time length for each story? They had to be a certain length.
We did that. We said it's got to be at least 2 minutes and maximum of 5 minutes. Now we have a couple that are a little longer than 5 minutes. Some actually scratched the 6-minute mark, but we looked at each case separately and said, yeah, this looks good. Come on, let's give it another 40 seconds.
Were you concerned about the length of the overall film with all the individual? I can imagine it was like, because it's a long movie. Even now, I can imagine you kind of worked it down and wrangled it down to try to get it contained as much as you could.
Actually, one of the films, Xmas on Fire, exists in a much longer version. It's a 9.5 minutes version.
Wow.
And the director presented it to us and was really proud. And we were like, yeah, that's really good. And man, it's nearly twice the length. We can't do that. And so
I'm going to invite some of the filmmakers, because I know that some of them are going to join us for little chats, like 5-minute chats. So I think if that's okay, we'll invite a couple of the guys on. So I think first we've got Bob Pipe and Richard Glover, who were involved with the Hunchback of Berghain. So let's see if we can get them.
So yeah, the Hunchback of Berghain, it's a, like I say, a homage to early black and white silent horror movies like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Nosferatu, and probably early Universal cinema. But yeah, and it has a sort of a hint of sort of the occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, the sort of the idea, and I guess Jacob's Ladder as well. That sort of must have been somewhere implanted in me.
So Richard, what was your role in the film?
I was playing the monster. Obviously, I had loads and loads of makeup and prosthetics. It was gorgeous to play, really. I've known Bob for a long time. So I was very grateful to be asked, and it's lovely to go to Germany. That was just wonderful. We were treated very well.
You shot in Germany?
Yeah, yeah, in Frankfurt, wasn't it? Just outside Frankfurt.
Yeah,
in a castle called Berghain. So we changed the title accordingly.
And what was the reason for that?
But a chance to shoot in a castle. We looked at castles in England, but we realised that we could save a little bit of production budgets by filming in Germany.
Yeah, actually, that was a big part of the reason. And also it was in the contract with the funding board, we had to create a certain amount of film material in the country of Hessen where we live. So we tried to get some productions over here. And since we have a lot of nice old castles around, we thought, yeah, maybe that will work. And yeah, it worked. And
tell us a bit about the style of the film. I mean, in terms of working and working on a movie which is silent, did you study some of the older movies in terms of the performance and how to convey emotion without dialogue? I mean, that's quite a tricky thing to do, and something that we don't do these days.
Yeah, well, that's something we all discussed beforehand about doing larger performances, sort of more theatrical performances. Maybe Richard could say more about that.
Yeah, well, because it's silent. And we were paying homage to all these old things. Everything's a bit sort of bigger and thematic. But
yeah.
it was really good fun to
But you've got that down to a T. It just looks so authentic. And also the visual style. I don't know how you did it and what you did with visually to conjure this sense of silent cinema and that visual quality that we know from watching movies from that era. You capture that perfectly.
We also decided to shoot in 4x3, and so yeah, we got to give a shout out to Franklin Dow as well, the cinematographer, DOP extraordinaire, who's an amazing DOP. Yeah, and so yeah, we planned it all out together as well with a great storyboard artist called Paul Loudon. And so yeah, we decided to shoot 4x3 so that the frame is much tighter and you can squeeze more in and compose the shots a lot more sort of. Yeah,
well, listen, guys, thank you so much for coming to talk to us. And the Hunchback of, I can't ever say the last bit, Berghain, yeah. Berghain is part of screening as part of December as part of our Grimfest Xmas Horror Nights. So, hello, Julian.
Julian.
Hi.
So, Julian, could you tell us a little bit about your short, which is called Bad Santa?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of I'm really pleased to be involved in this anthology. I sort of wanted to do or be a part of an anthology, since ABCs of Death and VHS. I just thought it'd be great to do something like that. So thanks to Ivo and Dominic for inviting me. Then the challenge was to come up with an idea, that would work in this particular context. And for me, Christmas is always about childhood, and about children. But what specifically sort of grabbed me about sort of my idea, what I wanted to do with it is explore that moment in childhood where you begin to question some of the fiction that you've been brought up with, whether Santa Claus exists. And is Santa Claus your father? And if he is, how do you go about proving that? And actually, it's a true story for me that how I did it is I tied a piece of string to my big toe, and tied it to my stocking, and in the hope that I would catch Father Claus or my father.
In your movie, that moment.
Yeah, exactly. So it was that real event that I sort of built the story around. In reality, what happened is I woke up the next morning, and the cotton had been cut, and I still didn't sort of reveal that Father Claus was actually my dad. But in the case of Bad Santa, that's sort of, it was at that moment in childhood that I thought would be an interesting sort of subtext to the story.
Well, it's a traumatic thing for a child, isn't it? It's the moment where you realise your parent lying to you. It's that kind of, it's quite an
yeah. Well, it's sort of it dashes your dreams,
and that too.
But it's a rites of passage, I think. And
but there's a spoiler in that about the whole of Christmas. But there's a spoiler in this film as well about what really happens. There's a kind of twist in your story. Twist in the tail. Don't tell us what the twist is, because people might see this before they see the film. I don't know, but as far as to say, there's a kind of nightmare element to this film. I guess we can go that far.
Yes, yeah. This seems to be sort of recurring in a lot of my films, with Last Horror Movie and with Reborn. Films within films, or sort of dreams within dreams. That idea came from America. Well, is it American? No, it's not American Werewolf in London, but it's the John Landis episode of an anthology, I think, where people were waking up in, and you couldn't tell which was a dream and which wasn't. And it sort of goes back to what I said about sort of me waking up in the morning and my cotton was cut, and it was like I did want to sort of take it a step further and play with that idea. But I think what also interested me is, children can be a little bit dangerous in their lack of understanding and lack of knowledge about things. Thinking about Michael Myers and Halloween. I mean, I always think of with Bad Santa, I always reference Spielberg and John Carpenter. It's Halloween and it's E.T. That's sort of where I was aiming at. But the girl in the story is also an interesting character because she's so terrified she truly believes in the Krampus and what Krampus does to naughty children, in that she goes to the lengths that she goes to.
Yeah, absolutely. She does something very drastic and very violent at the end of the film. Well, this we won't give any more of the plot away. Well, thank you for joining us. So, where did you shoot the film? Obviously in the UK.
Yeah, it was quite a challenge for me, actually, because at the time we were shooting this, I was traveling the world with Reborn and Daddy's Girl, so I was literally hopping off an aeroplane every week, so we had to shoot it in 3 installments over 3 weekends. I had 1 day of availability throughout a month. I was in Mexico, then I was in Brazil, then I was in Germany, and it was trying to sort of squeeze it in. And I do so. We ended up shooting it in a suburb in London, and it was specifically a house. Sort of a Victorian house. I wanted something traditional and Christmassy and Victorian, and I found this house on a location finder, and that's what we sort of locked ourselves into. And of course, a big challenge was finding 2 good kids, that act.
Great performances.
So
all around.
Yeah, well, I found them both in Barbara Speak agency. And I auditioned. I went to 3 sort of children's agencies in London, and actually those were from the same class, so they already had a relationship, even though they're not brother and sister. So that helped. Because there was, from the first day of shooting to the last day of shooting, there was about a month. On the last day of shooting, Bella, the young girl that plays the sister, who's actually only 6, would you believe?
Oh, wow.
She'd lost her front tooth.
Oh no!
So, and I actually didn't notice until the last shot of the film.
Continuity.
And somebody said, "Have you lost your front tooth?" And I thought, "Oh my God," And it's just one of those things that happens, If something's going to go wrong when you make a film, it will go wrong. And this is something that happened. Yeah.
So if we look closely, can we spot that?
I think I kept her in a wider 2-shot.
So Gillian, listen, thank you so much for joining us. People can catch the film Bad Santa as part of DEATHCEMBER, which we're screening as part of our Christmas Horror Nights coming up on the 11th and 12th of December. Great. Well, thank you for joining us, Gillian. Great to have you along. Now, your film Cracker is actually way down the end of December. It's one of the final films, in fact, in the anthology. But it's a very cool and quite bizarre movie, and does an incredible amount of stuff in a very short amount of time. In terms of scale, you start in this very contained little world, and by the end of it, you've revealed something, enormous in scale. So tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea. Tell us a little bit about casting.
Probably worth mentioning that the film is set, first of all, in the 1950s, which I think starts it off in probably quite a strange fashion compared to most of the shorts anyway. And I don't mind saying that, as well as that, there's also an element of science fiction involved in the story. So that's maybe as far as I'll go with kind of how crazy it gets. But yeah, my inspiration basically goes to kind of my love of things like kind of The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock movies and things like that. And I guess as well, because when Ivo and Dom first approached me about doing it, like knowing that there was going to be 24 or even more other shorts, I kind of set out straight away to try and make something that was a little bit different. That's kind of my style anyway. But yeah, and so yeah, I kind of sort of decided to see if I could put a little bit of horror into that kind of Twilight Zone-y Alfred Hitchcock suspense film sort of style.
I think you can go as far as to say you start with a family and there's something bizarre going on and they're pulling crackers at Christmas. So
yeah, actually, before we go any further, I wondered if anybody fancied anybody?
Okay.
Johnny, maybe?
Yeah, I'll have a go, okay.
So it's the basic story of it, the basic premise is it's just your regular 50s atomic family. sat around the Christmas dinner table pulling Christmas crackers. You know, what could be scary about that?
There's something very dangerous about these crackers, and you don't really know. You start to gather that there is something very bizarre going on with these crackers, and that the family around the table are very nervous about pulling these crackers, and then eventually you realize what happens when you do pull the wrong one, so to speak, which is a great little idea. It's fantastic, and then of course it expands out and becomes something much bigger as a concept by the end of the film. So tell us about casting. Tell us about how you brought the cast together for this.
Well, so Johnny, obviously, who's with us, he was actually in my previous film, Eddie, and you know, he's just such a joy to work with that that he was the first person on my list actually when I was casting it, and he actually was with me when I first met Dom and Ivo at the Landshütte Curse Film Festival in Germany, and they saw Eddie. And then sort of I think they approached me after that with their idea. And this is a couple of years before we actually filmed, right? And I think at the time, you know, none of the bigger names of directors had got on board. And so luckily, being a relatively unknown filmmaker, they just liked the look of my short, asked me if I wanted to do it. And Johnny was with me at the time. And so, you know, I couldn't really not have him in the film after we'd had a few beers.
Can I just jump in there as well? It was about 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning in one of the festival bars, and there was loads of us there, and that's where Dom and Ivo threw the pitch our way, and we got really excited about it because we thought this is a fantastic idea, and we were on board straight away. So whether John was going to cast me or not, I was going to do it.
No, I did as well, because I think a thing about Johnny that he really did so well in my previous film is it was mostly kind of unspoken, and so he's an incredibly good physical actor and has such an amazing presence on film, and that's what I needed for this, because obviously it's quite a strange sort of film, and it requires quite a kind of commitment to that bit in order to carry it through. It's
stylized as well, isn't it? Not only visually but also performance-wise. The whole thing has a certain style to it, which is incredibly effective, but it's not quite naturalistic. It's kind of you know something bizarre about it all. And
well, I suppose if it's set in the 50s and you're going for that kind of 50s rhythm,
yes,
then it'll look odd.
Yeah,
Twilight is very stylized.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of B-movie-esque. It was meant to be surreal as well. We just wanted to sort of push as many kind of uneasy elements into it as possible. I kind of treated it a little bit as an exercise in how far you can push every single element of a film to sort of try and make people feel a bit uneasy without any actual real kind of, you know, gore, menace or whatever, initially at least, to do that. None of the kind of cheaper tricks. I was trying to go for things like, you know, the editing, the music, and the just general weirdness of it all.
Well, listen, guys, thank you for joining us and telling us about the film. So it will be screening as part of, it's called Cracker, and it's screening as part of DEATHCEMBER. Hello, Amma.
Hi.
Could you tell us a little bit about 5 Deaths in Blood Red?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, guys. So when I first spoke to Dominic and Ivo, they were like, "Oh, we like this short you did that was a giallo." I was like, "I could do more giallo." So that's really how it came to be, and then we sort of took it from there.
Cool. And so this is a story about a family that get together at Christmas, I guess. And then secrets come to the fore about, you know, who might be responsible for dastardly deeds that are involved. It's kind of quite stylized. It's kind of funny, but it's also very dark. Would you say that's?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we were going for. Everybody involved, the writer Mark Gottlieb and I are both huge giallo fans, and you know, I had really explored the super stylish stuff in the past, like, you know, lots of vibrant colors. I'm like, I want to do something in that vein, but something that's totally ours. It could be a little bit modernized. So that's why we decided to make it have sort of a little bit more comedy to it.
Yeah.
And it was really fun because we're like, okay, let's take all these tropes of all these vintage Italian characters and just amplify them. And so that was really the direction we were going for with that.
And whereabouts did you shoot it?
We shot here in Los Angeles. There's a place called the Beckett Mansion, and it is a historical landmark in the city. Tons of movies have been shot there since, like, I think the 1920s. It's a beautiful place. We barely had to do anything to it to make it look the way we wanted to.
I didn't know that you shot it in LA. Probably that's because of the house has got such a traditional feel to it that, you know, it's not what you expect from an LA kind of environment, I suppose.
No, we had such a hard time finding somewhere at first. A lot of us are from New England originally, so everywhere there looks like that. And then on the West Coast, everything is pretty modern or like Spanish architecture. So
yeah,
when we found this place, we pursued them so hard until they said yes.
It's got a real kind of Gothic feel to it. And
yeah.
And so how about your cast? How did you pull, you've got some great actors there. How did you pull your cast together for this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first thing we did is we're like, okay, who from like the original Italian horror crew lives in Los Angeles and could we maybe reach out to? And of course, Barbara McNulty. And we like harassed her until she said yes. And the way that we really did it is I'm a photographer as well, and I've worked with Dario Argento a few times. And so I was like, look at these photos I took of him. If I'm cool enough to hang out with him, maybe I'm cool enough to hang out with you. And she was like, okay, I'll do it. And she's like, only if I could be a producer. And we're like, yes, we would love to have your like creative involvement as well.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. And then did the rest of the cast kind of fall in around that, or?
I knew I wanted somebody that looked like, you know, a high fashion model but could act. And Brianna Barnes is that. She was like in Versace runway shows, but she's also an incredible talent. So that was like a no-brainer for us.
And how about the gore effects? There's some great gore effects in here. Was that achieve?
Yeah, it was all practical. Sue Sinclair did it on set. The hardest part about that was that we were in this historic mansion and we could not get blood on anything. Like, we were all just holding our breath that blood didn't land in the wrong place. Like we had it looked like Dexter's like laboratory or something because there's like plastic wrap on everything around what we're doing.
I always think that when I see these various horror movies that are so splattery. I mean, I've made some myself, but the places I've shot have always happened to be places that it didn't really matter if you threw blood and muck and gore everywhere. But I've often thought it must be a nightmare to shoot in somewhere that you've got to keep looking, you know, beautiful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like seriously, every time we got ready to do something, all of us were just like holding our breath and just like looking around like, okay, there's nothing on anything, right? Because if we had messed anything up, it would have cost.
You would have had a massive bill.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't get a massive bill.
Oh, me too.
And it's a fantastic film. So thank you for joining us. And it's screened as part of DEATHCEMBER, which will be screening as part of our Grimfest Horror Nights. Andreas, you're the director of Pig. Pig, wow, where do we start to describe Pig? This is, it's very cool and very stylized and beautifully shot and great. I mean, it's great performances. It has a real twist in the tale. This is I suppose, a feminist horror movie, really.
Yes, it is.
We might call it. So tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I had the idea to this film when I read something a couple years ago. 3 girls picked up a guy in Germany in a discotheque, and they poisoned him. And they wanted to rob his credit card or something like this. And so they gave him poison, and he passed away. And then they put him in the back of the car and wanted to bury him in the woods. And then he woke up and they killed him with a knife. And it must have been an act of terrible violence committed by 3 girls.
This is a real story.
It's a real story, yes.
Okay.
And I was inspired by this female violence, which is pretty uncommon, but it's existing. And I combined it with the Me Too subject, because Me Too was everywhere on the web, and it was I thought it was an interesting combination to have a female slasher film combined with feminist Me Too subjects, and but I wanted to keep it ambiguous. I didn't want to have just three cool girls for cool girls killing a stupid guy. I wanted to have a more ambivalent twist.
Well, there's a real twist in the tale. So if people may not have seen this film yet, there is, so you get a sense from what you just described of what happens in your film, but there's an actual twist at the end of this film, which works perfectly. And I think I also think that it works. I think it's incredibly hard to make films work in these really, really well in terms of these short time lengths. It's incredibly hard to make a film have a beginning, middle, and end. And
yes, right.
You know, and I think that your film really achieves that and works in that. You know, you cover a lot in a very short time scale.
Yes, that's right. There are different layers. There is a flashback in a other location. It tells you why the women are doing that. They have a background, and my goal was to make a little feature film combined in 5 minutes. So it was very, very detailed preparation. I painted everything as storyboards, and I timed everything, so it was exactly 5 minutes to shoot.
Wow.
And we shot a lot of takes. We shot only once because we knew it will be in the film for 10 seconds, and that's it.
It's very successful, so congratulations. Well done. It looks beautifully shot as well. Also a great.
Yeah, the cameraman is Joe Heim. He's in Germany. He's a very, very famous cameraman, DOP, and he won several awards for his work and for his lifetime work. And I know him for a very long time because I started during the 80s to shoot music videos with him. We shot about 50 music videos for metal bands like Creator and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then he went to shoot films for the movie theaters and very big stuff, comedies, crime movies and so on. And after some years, I thought I should work with him again, and I called him and asked him if he was interested in doing a 5 minutes movie, and he said yes, of course, and we had a great time to do that.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure people are going to love the film. It screens as part of DEATHCEMBER, and it's called Pig. Remy, we just have a quick chat with you about your movie Family Feast. So maybe just tell us a little bit about the film and about where the idea came from for this film.
Yeah, so it's actually Audrey Mubus that wrote the story, and she really wanted to put like the stress of being like in a family reunion in image, but also like with a dream-like ambience. So yeah, so everything that is stressful about like seeing those people one time a year and having some comment about your weight, about what you eat, about oh you don't have a boyfriend, a girlfriend. So yeah, that was about it. And we also decided like to do both language. As you can hear, I'm French Canadian, and in Montreal we have a big duality with language, so French and English. So we wanted to split the family in two and have one part that is English, one part that is French, which is actually Audrey's reality. So yeah, so it was also a bit political. It's maybe like a layer of this movie that not everybody will get if you don't know like Canada and those two language, those two part of Canada. Yeah, in Quebec, we're known to be like really warm and really like simple. And in Canada, they go like more, maybe a bit in English Canada and the rest of Canada that we call like people are a bit more strict about the rules. So it's all of this like mixing up to create that story and that mood in the room.
I felt like it was one of the shorts in December that I could really relate to, because it, you know, everyone's been at that family Christmas, and or you know, and sometimes you don't always want to be there, or sometimes it just kicks up in all the wrong directions. But also all the jibes and comments that this character gets just pushes her and pushes her and pushes her. And I love the way you keep intercutting between the reality and what she's seeing in her mind until that basically takes over. So whereabouts did you shoot it, and how did you cast it?
Oh, that's funny. It's shot in my well, Audrey's actually my partner. Audrey is my girlfriend too. So we shot at her parents. They have this big house in
Wow.
Westmount. So we went there, and we were together for like 7 or 8 months. So I didn't know very well her parents. And the house is really like more expensive, and there's a lot of like old furniture. But we said like we'll be like maybe 25 inside like that house, but we were like actually like maybe a bit more. So I was just like stressing out to do like a good movie, but also like not to break anything. Like, and the more we were going, it was a 3 day of shoots. The more it was going, the more people were getting relaxed, and just like there was like those big lights like suspended, and like the sound guy was just like waving his boomstick around, and I was like freaking out.
This
but
could have been the end of your relationship.
Exactly, there was a lot like
Could have become more autobiographical than you intended.
Exactly. So, and yeah, the casting is a lot of people that I'm working usually in Montreal, and some people that I've seen like on TV set, movie set that I just like thought about. So we casted people that I knew that they would be fun to work with, and they will do like great job doing this film.
Some great characters in it. They're really,
Thank you.
wonderful characters that you know, some of them don't actually necessarily have to do that much. There's one guy that doesn't say anything. He just sits there, but he has a real presence. I hope to see you again soon.
Have a good festival.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye. I know that your film, we're screening your film as kind of an extra movie that is going to screen probably after
it's going to be an epilogue
alongside DEATHCEMBER.
You give us a breakdown about where this one came from.
Ivo told me about the project. The first things that I was thinking about Christmas was, of course, you know, of the month of December's family gatherings. So I was thinking, and I'm not the only one, because there's a couple of shorts that deal with this subject, is, you know, what happens if something goes wrong, right? If you get an unexpected guest, or you're revealing something that you're not supposed to reveal at a family dinner.
Quite.
So this is where that came from. That basically you would have this couple with kids and something's off.
So were you thinking I can do something serious here and then take it in a kind of wild direction? Was that?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it was. And I do feel that in a way, the short is a bit of a hybrid, because it could have gone into another more serious direction, and of course I wanted to keep it short and fun and kind of, you know, and impressive in a way. But yeah, the original idea, and I didn't want to make it just as a joke. So you're absolutely right. That there was this, you know, I wanted to end it in a fun and graphic way, but yeah, I mean, it was a real problem of this, you know, dysfunctional family and Christmas time. And I think, you know, I mean, unfortunately, it is the case of many. You know, you have the Christmas blues kind of thing. You know, there's like, you know, it's depressing because you have to, you know, pretend that everything's all right and it's a happy family, and many times it isn't. So I kind of like wanted to sort of the short was born from this unease.
Can I ask you where you shot it?
Oh, we shot it in Paris. It was actually it's a funny story. We found a place. We were wrecking our brains to find a nice place, because of course, as you probably know, we had a limited budget to shoot these shorts, and we were lucky enough to find this really cool loft that belongs to somebody who works in documentaries, and they had rented the place for several shoots before, and yeah, it looks like kind of we like, I mean, it doesn't look like the typical Parisian flat. It looks like it could be somewhere else. So so that was very nice, and it also had like really high ceilings, so we could, you know, set up the tracks and do everything we needed to do with the camera. So we got really lucky with the flat.
And how about your casting?
So yeah, I'm gonna talk about Janine first, who's the mother. So I was pretty lucky to find Janine because she brought her own kid. So that made my directing job so much easier. We were co-directing the kid, and you know, she was I think 3.5, like not yet 4 years old. So it was interesting. We didn't have many takes, you know, to do, so we had to get things kind of working fast. So I got really lucky there, and Fred, who plays the husband, is a really good theater actor. He does a lot of plays, and he's been in some television, and so yeah, he's I think it was kind of a thing where you know, you didn't want him to reveal too much, and he had to sort of portray this unease and this sort of knowing that everything was gonna go wrong imminently. So I got really lucky with that, and Joanna, it's really cool because yeah, we did a lot of casting auditions, and of course the thing is, like, we saw a lot of like really good dancers, but that couldn't really fit.
She has to look right.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I got really lucky because I saw her. It was actually when I had a couple of choices for DP, and the DP that I've actually worked with him afterwards. He said like, "Oh, do you have your actors?" Like, "Well, I'm still casting," and he said, "Have a look at this," and she was it was a student film for Louis Lumière, but she was a cannibal in there, and a very, very sexy cannibal. And so I was like, wow, this is interesting. And she's like, yeah, and she's really nice. And so I call her up, and I think she calls me back, like she knows, like because that we're still casting, so she calls me, and then we discuss, and she sent me some links, and she's been doing a lot of music videos, particularly for this band, this duo in France called Offenbach. And in one of those videos, she is actually she has 2 young men tied up in the basement. She does this really sexy dance. It's very nicely choreographed and very nicely shot, and it's like it went viral when it was released. And so I knew that she could act, and I knew that she could dance. So basically, yeah, we actually worked quite a bit on the choreography. I mean, because it was actually the tricky part was the transformation. You know, she's wearing something, and then she is wearing less and reveals something else. So actually getting that right, like, took quite a bit of work. And also we worked well with costume design. They had to create a costume that kind of looked good enough, but that you could get rid of easily. So that was that was, I think, the most elaborate part of the show, just getting the dance right and getting the costume right, and getting it all happening in a very short amount of time and during the set.
So Alicia, thank you so much. We're going to have to move on, if that's okay. But thank you for sharing some thoughts on the film. I'm sure everyone's going to enjoy it. Ring My Bell is screening alongside DEATHCEMBER for our Christmas podcast. Thank you very much, and we'll hope to see you again. You're our last filmmaker from the film to join us, so thank you for joining us. So your movie is called Family Matters.
Yes.
And this is a very cool film. It's very dark. It's very weird. I don't know. I suppose it's easy to banter around the Lovecraft name, but there's a touch of that going on here, I think.
That's a compliment for me. I was really, me and Jasper, the co-writer of it, we are really big fans of body horror, obviously, and of course, yeah, stuff like everything that probably David Cronenberg did, The Thing, Ridley Scott's Aliens, and I hope that you can sense also influences of that in there, of course.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, can you tell us a little bit about the film and how you came up with this idea?
Actually, me and Jasper, I produced Jasper's Mau, and we were together in a film festival in Spain on a weekend. I think maybe a week or two after Ivo called me
to join DEATHCEMBER, and we came up to that story. We came up with that story in a weekend with a lot of beer. So no, it was not. We feel each other. We are two filmmakers from here that really feel and sense each other, and we are on the same page. And it was just, it's a funny tidbit that it was on a weekend with a lot of beer. But the thing is, he says A and I say B, and in like a couple of hours and 2 days, we had like an outline. Then we wrote screenplay. We sent it to Evo. Hi Evo, and they liked it because there was when you read the whole premise of DEATHCEMBER, a lot of people expect like a lot of killer Santas, and I am really happy that we provided something else, and that was the reason that I think Evo liked it so much, and Dominique of course as well, because it's something completely different. Of course, it's also about a family dinner, but the whole family dynamic, you can't disconnect that from Christmas. So we needed at least a cliche like that in there. But the whole parasite and body horror thing, I don't think you see that a lot in Christmas.
No. So there's some great use of physical and possibly VFX in this film. I mean, so well done that I wasn't sure, but certain bits I thought you must have done with added some VFX work to, particularly that last image, which I won't give away if people haven't seen it, but in fact it is used on one of our trailers for the film, so people may have seen it. It's quite a disturbing image, but so some great SFX and possibly VFX work.
Everything that, like I said, I'm a really big fan of Alien and The Thing of John Carpenter, and those films become famous because of the practical effects. So when we wrote this story, that we knew directly that a lot of the budget probably would go to practical effects, because everything that I wanted in there needs to be practical effects. So everything is actually practical except the shot that you see in every marketing trailer and stuff out there. So the last shot is completely VFX. I mean, completely. They used the tentacle, the worm that comes out of the nose. They used the practical thing, but they made like a 3D rendering of it, and the rest is completely CGI. So yeah, we couldn't do that, of course, without killing the main actor. So I wasn't planning to do that. So
sometimes digital makes it a lot easier.
But it's beautifully done. Beautifully done. That's why I said, it's hard to tell what is, and that to me means that it's achieved what it needs to really well. Beautifully done. It's a really dark and bizarre film. So thank you so much for sharing it with us. Maybe it'd be good to have a little chat about overall DEATHCEMBER. So for the UK, we were talking before about its release. So you're not yet sure when the film is going to get a release in the UK?
Yeah, but it should happen really, really soon. Shout Factory, who is our distributor in the US, they also bought the rights for the UK. And they were, the last time we spoke, it wasn't exactly pinpointed yet, but we believe it might actually still happen in December or very soon afterwards. Yeah, it's really, really.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we wish you the best of luck with the release in the UK. I think it's already out in the US and various other countries. Is that right?
Yeah, it was released in Scandinavia on November 18. Next up in the US on November 24, at least for the digital platforms. Germany had an early EST this Saturday for Amazon and iTunes. And the rest of the US platforms and cable digital TV, cable TV will be on December 1st. And we got a Blu-ray coming out in Germany on December 4.
Excellent.
And a Blu-ray in Canada, actually, by Raven Banner. That was out on November 24.
Good for Raven Banner. We like those guys.
Yeah,
they're great. Glad they're releasing it for you. So that's cool. So people can expect to see it in the UK sometime soon. If they don't catch our screening or haven't seen it with us, then hopefully it'll be out soon in the UK, which is great. It's a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, it should be out before Christmas if possible. That makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah. It's kind of crazy if it doesn't come out before Christmas, or maybe it'll come out, maybe they'll hold it back for next Christmas. I don't know, but that would seem you know, that's, you know, let's hope not. Let's hope they get it out in December over here, because I think people are going to really enjoy it. And if people can't, you know, people can always catch our screening of it as part of our Christmas Horror Nights, which is cool. It's so good, and it's got so many different
flavors
there by such great talented filmmakers. I mean, there's a load of people that haven't joined us tonight who you know, I mean, that's just a few of the filmmakers. There's so many. One from Pollyanna McIntosh, for instance, who obviously we know very, very well, has been a guest of ours many times at Grimfest, and she directed one of them. There is one from Asban, I can never say his name, but who I know as well, and a whole load of different really exciting directors. And there's a lot of faces in there you'll recognize as well. One of the films has Barbara Crampton in it, which is a picture of her right behind you, Steve, from one of our previous posters. So there's a whole lot of faces that people will recognize.
Yeah, we're hoping there will be a UK release soon, and maybe also a DVD release in the UK, in the US. If enough people show their interest into the film on VOD, then maybe Shout Factory or Scream Factory will also release a DVD. We're hoping for that, obviously.
That would be cool. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people. And will you be doing some? I guess there's some behind the scenes stuff and for the Blu-ray, and because there's so much stuff here. There's so many different filmmakers. You could do such a huge and exciting kind of extras
and packaging stuff as well.
I think we got like 3 to 4 hours of extras. Actually, we really got a lot of stuff. We thoroughly hope that the British audiences will enjoy the film. Had a long time to wait for it. We hope the wait will have been worth it for you. I mean, it's really so many different directors. We kind of feel like it's a big family, and that's not just some cliche. It's really like that, because we've worked with all these guys and girls for 2 years, writing emails and doing stuff, and it's been such a great experience because they're all really wonderful people. And we had a few times when we met some of them, or we had our cast and crew premiere, quite a lot of them at one place, and we always had great times. And yeah, I love doing this film, even if it's solely for the experience of working together with so many creative people. That would
be a great party, getting all those guys together from everywhere.
Yeah. You're gonna have to do it for Christmas.
And we hope some of this joy will shine through to the audiences, and they will enjoy it. I think it's at times very different Christmas horror film, different from the usual stuff. And we hope it's going to be fun.
Thank you.
Ivo, thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, well, listen, guys, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to say goodbye to you all. Thank you all for joining us. It's been great to talk to you all and getting some background info and stuff on the movie. It's a great film. So congratulations, and we wish you all the best with it.